Hello, friends. Welcome back to yet another episode of Manage Mentoring brought to you by Kya Matlab. Today, we're going to carry on from where we left off last time. We were talking about Amazon and the lessons learned from its success story. Today, we're going to talk about yet another fabulous company from which we have a lot to learn. Yes, we're going to talk about none other than Google. Everybody uses Google. But have you wondered how it came to be the tech giant it is today? More importantly, what lessons can we learn as individuals and as a company or a business from Google's success story? Well, let's try and understand Google's journey and what we can learn from it. So Google was initially conceived as a PhD project by two students from Stanford, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Stanford students, put together something which was called a search engine. And they noticed that other popular search engines at that time, there were companies like Yahoo, Excite, Alta Vista. They were giving irrelevant results and could be easily manipulated. So they came up with the idea that ranking of a web page in search should be determined by how many other pages on the internet linked to that page, thus proving that the web page had credibility and authority. So that was the key analyzer for searching a page or anything on Google. So on top of that, the pages linking to that web page would themselves have high authority and legitimacy. This algorithm was the basis of how the search engine would work. So they patented this concept and called it PageRank. So if you visited a page, you'd probably be able to analyze and give it a rank. So as Page and Brin were almost, developing this search engine, they were more scientists than businessmen. They decided that they wanted to sell their patent to another search engine called Excite. They offered to sell it for $1 million at that time. But the CEO of Excite refused. Then they decided to reduce the amount and offered the same again to him, and he refused again. Around that time, they met an investor from Sun Microsystems who liked the idea and gave them $100,000 as an initial investment. The company hired its first set of employees, and it started to gain popularity. After this, other investors started putting money into Google as it became more popular. And eventually, the investment they got exceeded $1 million, the amount they were earlier willing to sell it for. Well, while Google was rapidly gaining in popularity, its main problem was that it did not know how to make money. The promoters were not businessmen. So eventually, the founders again decided that it was probably best to sell the company while it was doing a good job. So they decided to offer to sell it to Yahoo for $1 billion US. Yahoo refused. To add to it, around that time, the stock market crashed and the investors were no longer funding companies which had no path to profitability. Google itself was not even making any sales, forget about profit. It was then that they came up with an idea called Google AdWords, which would get the advertisers to place text above the search results, which would be the form of an advertisement. So AdWords was a game changer. There were hundreds of millions of searches being conducted on Google, even in the early 2000s, and placing an ad on even a percentage of the search areas could actually began to make a lot of money because everything relevant came above the search, and there was so much people wanted to advertise, so the advertisement revenue just skyrocketed. Not only that, because they were a tech company, they did not have the huge overhead, and much of what they actually made was profit. So without any overheads, they were running into lots of money as far as their revenues were concerned. But in 2004, they got themselves listed on the stock market, and over the years became one of the largest tech giants as we know today. As of 2021, under the new parent company, which is called, as we all know, Alphabet Inc., which their founders created, Google has gone on to have a market cap of $2 trillion. This is a company that was started just 20 years ago. So, what have been the three main reasons behind Google's success? The first reason has been constantly focusing on innovation that delivers value. By coming out with an innovative search engine that was vastly better than its competitors, Google became greatly popular and used that popularity to drive its profits. But it didn't stop there. It encouraged employees to come out with innovative products themselves. It encouraged people within the organization to spend 20% of their time on creating innovative projects that could potentially become future Google products. And revolutionary services like, you must have heard of Google Maps, Gmail, have been the results of these very same practice of giving 20% time to the employees to innovate. Well, the second reason, it only competed in the long term in the areas where it could be number one or number two, which meant that if they did not believe in being number one or number two, they would get out of there. So while it came out with several products, not all of them were successful. Google knew that not only was it important to make profit from products, it was also important to discontinue those that had no future. So by investing more on its winners and getting rid of its losers relatively quickly, it won big. Finally, it learned that from the mistakes of its competitors. When Google was offered $1 billion, Yahoo refused, and Google went on to become worth a lot more, as we all know. So Google itself learned a huge lesson from this. In 2006, when it had become a big company, it was presented with a similar opportunity. A new company that was extremely popular with users but constantly making losses had offered itself for sale. Unlike Yahoo, Google recognized the massive potential and opportunity of this loss-making company, and when combined with AdWords, realized the potential this would have for them. Determined not to repeat Yahoo's mistakes, they purchased this company for $1.65 billion. This loss-making company was none other than YouTube, which now makes billions of dollars every year for Google. So lesson learned, and Yahoo itself made one bad decision after another, and it eventually sold for a ridiculously low price. On the other hand, Google went on to create immense wealth for its founders and shareholders and became one of the biggest technology companies on the planet. Not everyone can be Google, but if there are three main lessons we can learn from this story, they are: number one, constant innovation that delivers value is at the core of success of any person or a company. Number two, compete at what you're good at and what is making you win. If it is making you lose and it is not your strength, it is better to divert your resources to what helps you win. And finally, three, it is good to learn from your mistakes, but it is even better to learn from others' mistakes, as life is too short and you always keep making your own mistakes. Even as an individual or as a company, these 3 lessons can be very valuable to your life and to your business. So implement them today and see how your life changes. So lesson learned from Google again. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Thank you.